Georgia is very digital,
Okay.
and the adoption of digital solutions and smartphone penetration and everything is very high. You know, we saw Monzo, Revolut, and all those guys, and basically we thought, you know, why don't we do something like that?
Today, I'm joined by Nika Kurdiani, Deputy CEO at TBC Bank in Georgia. TBC Bank engineered Space and in doing so created the first neobank in Georgia, providing its customers the full range of retail bank products. Today, we'll talk about Space, how Space came about and what it does for the Georgian economy and how the app was designed. Nika, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Just to jump straight into this, talk to us about Space and what do you do particularly at Space?
Space basically is a project which we launched in 2017, and it was just an idea of a couple of my team members and mine. Basically, we talked about all this neobanking revolution coming up. You know, we saw big names like Monzo, Revolut, and all those guys, and basically we thought, you know, why don't we do something like that in our region? Initially, it was just a Georgian project, you know, as we are part of TBC Bank. Basically, TBC is the biggest retail bank in the country and in our region, and we have like 45% of the market share. And basically, we don't need to have a neobank, you know. But then we said, you know, why don't we create a challenger within TBC? And basically, we started working on that. And from the decision point, which was like July next year, March, we launched it already. So it took us like 8 to 10 months to launch the friends and family stage, and basically, and from the moment of the launch, we were super successful. Within the first months, we had onboarded approximately 50,000 customers.
Wow.
And then it took off, right?
Wow. And before we get into like the Georgian economy, because that's something we're really interested about, how many people work at Space and what's the makeup of like the product teams and the design teams?
Space, initially it was literally a small room and 5 people, which was in spring 2018.
Okay.
And by now, basically, it's more than 100 people. And the composition is, of course, we are an agile organized team, basically, and very flat. So we have product teams with their IT people and programmers, testers, everything. And also we have a very big customer experience and customer care team, basically, which is one of the key differentiators we try to build around Space.
Nice. And would you say, so we often see how product teams are broken up into feature sets. So would you say you have a product team per feature set or just an overarching product team?
No, we talked about that, and we said, you know, we have to have product lines, basically, which we would consider as businesses, and within that we would have feature sets.
Okay. So yeah, back to like Georgia, because this is like really the economy and sort of the region is really new to us. We don't really hear too much about it. So when you first launched Space, how receptive were the Georgian sort of community to?
Georgia is a very digital-oriented country. You know, I mean, for instance, if you take TBC Bank, approximately 92% of all transactions are being performed digitally. TBC Bank's mobile banking application, separately from Space, was named many times as one of the best in the region and global, all the awards and stuff. So I would say Georgia is very digital, and the adoption of digital solutions and smartphone penetration and everything is very high. So that's why Space adoption was also very high. You know, and currently we are having more than 180,000 registered customers, which is basically in a country of 3.7 million population, a significant figure for one and a half years business, you know, and that's why I would say the country was quite receptive.
Okay, and that's interesting. You said that TBC Bank's app was already sort of like really well adopted, because what we saw here when we had our digital revolution was a lot of the big incumbent banks had really poor experiences and still do to this day. So it was kind of a no-brainer to switch over to a Monzo. So I guess if TBC Bank already had, you know, a perfectly functional, what specific problems would you say that Space was solving for the Georgian?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you know, banks, retail banks, they may be very digital. They may have very good digital apps and mobile banking apps. But when you say a digital application of a traditional retail bank, basically you see all the products inside, right? So when you talk about the niche, which is daily banking, which we took as a focus point, basically then the app becomes not that really sleek, because basically you would have all the functions inside, starting from trading, ending with all the deposit features and stuff. So what we said, we want to be a daily banking application where we'll have as minimum products as possible, and as simple as possible. And there was another point. Traditional banks, but they are not instant. Basically, you would start the process and you would end the process not within the app.
Yeah.
So basically, the experience is cool. However, the instancy basically is not there.
Yeah.
Space, and that's a rule for us. We would not develop a product if this product would not be instant. So instant means you want a loan, you go through the process and you finish it right away. So in 1 minute you have a loan. Whereas in normal bank you would take like 1 day or within a day, or a second day or this kind of stuff.
You have to come into the branch as
you
well.
have to sign something, send something, and scan something. In our case, you don't do anything. So you start and you end. So these 2 points, I would say. Okay.
And to take like a step back, what's the overall banking landscape in Georgia? Like you mentioned that TBC is sort of like the biggest bank, retail bank. Can we talk about like other banks in the region?
Yeah, we have quite a concentrated banking market. I would say we have like top 3 banks, out of which top 2 hold something about 70% of the market. So it's TBC Bank and Bank of Georgia. By the way, both banks are listed in London, and we are both part of FTSE 250 index, and which is also very cool and gives us lots of push in terms of keeping up the standard. And then there's a third bank which is a bit smaller, but which is a very big retail bank with more than like 300 branches in the country. So this is more or less the landscape, and all of them are very digital and very top notch in terms of digital innovations.
Okay, nice. And I guess finally, before we get into these journeys, what's sort of the tech scene like in Georgia? What's the startup scene? What's the investment into the startup scene? How easy was it for you guys to find talent for space?
Oh, it is difficult. I mean, because Georgia is a small country, the market is small per se, and it was difficult to find right people, and it is still difficult to find people. But we have more than 100 people now, and we are always adding people in Georgia. But we decided, to go also to other countries. For instance, we have a team in Ukraine. We have a team in Belarus. These 2 countries offer lots of IT talent, And we said, as space changed a bit its focus, because initially it was Georgia, and now we talk already about space internationalization. We're talking about other countries. We can talk about it later on. But the point is that we have to diversify our talent as well, having different countries, different presences. So now we grabbed talent from Ukraine and a bit in Belarus. But again, Georgia is the key focus country in terms of where we want to be, because it's Georgia startup, and out of Georgia we may grow to other countries.
Nice. So I guess that's enough sort of high level discuss about Georgia. Let's dig deep into the journey. So the first one we'll be getting into is the onboarding journey. So you log on, you jump into the app, and then you're greeted with sort of like an overarching page which gives you a bit of a high overview of what's to be expected in the app. You're then asked to enter your phone number, I believe.
No, phone number, we need the phone number.
Yeah, you're asked to enter the phone number. You get an SMS code, so it authenticates you. At this point, you're creating a PIN, I believe?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, you're creating a PIN to, I guess, log you into the app when you're not. Confirms that your PIN is all...
It's registered, now you're registered already.
Okay. And then I like this. You get a high-level overview of what to expect in the app, and then it tells you what kind of documentations they accept as well.
Scanning the ID,
which is pretty cool. Something else that really cool happens after this is, which we'll see in a
backside.
Yeah. Okay, you got to scan the backside as well. That's a really nice illustration to illustrate that as well. I think that's pretty cool. To, I guess, get people...
But this is all a learning curve, because we understood that people would not understand, so we added the screens afterwards.
Okay, so it's to illustrate.
Yeah,
you
to
added
illustrate what to do, basically.
Okay.
This is the selfie.
And this is the identity sort of check.
It's funny to see the selfies, because people are trying to, they don't understand if it is for authentication, basically. They think it's really a selfie.
People posing.
Yeah, exactly.
What we saw a few minutes ago as well is that you drag the information from the card into the... And that's something we're going to dig into deep, because it's something that I don't think we see everybody here get correct either.
Okay.
So, and then you go through a process of questions.
Some questions.
Yeah. And I think what's cool about this is that it makes it very quick to answer these questions as well.
Because you have the choice.
Yeah, and it's not exactly. So I guess it makes the process go by really quickly, and that's something I noticed as well. And what information are we entering here?
Where you work, basically.
Okay,
This is for us to authenticate, and then afterwards to categorize our customers, basically,
Okay.
in terms of risk profiles and
Okay.
different information points.
And those risk profiles, does that go into the kind of loans that they're
Yes,
afforded?
afterwards we
Okay.
use it for different purposes.
Okay.
And that's it. For onboarding, you got the gamification, 500 points.
Yeah, and that's something that I found really interesting as well, that we want to deep dive into. So I guess the first thing was, like I said, this information that you drag from the identity and documentation. How is that done? What kind of system is used to like?
We have a Georgian provider for that.
Okay,
so basically
nice.
and it's our artificial intelligence kind of software, basically, which collects all the information and then onboards it into the app.
What kind of error rates would you say you have with that, or is that usually pretty seamless?
They are quite high. Initially, they were quite high, but then we optimized it, and now it's very sleek. Now it's like almost no error rates. The error rates would be human, if somebody would not be able to scan it properly or wouldn't understand the frames and this kind of stuff. But if everything is done properly, like in this case, of course, it's illustration purpose. But basically, I mean, it would go very quick. And
okay. And when you had those initial error points, was it a matter of improving the software or sort of communicating to customers?
Both. But mostly the customer communication was something, because the thing was new and people would not be used to this kind of stuff. And now it goes well, basically. Yeah.
Something else I noticed that we see like a lot in, I guess, most personal account journeys is there wasn't the ability to order your card in the journey.
We had it initially, and then we took it out.
Okay.
Because when you have it in the initial process, basically people would, because we have a very good loan product, and some people would come for a loan, some people would come for something else, and then we would have the ordered cards, and the ordered cards would be idle, the people would not use it. So then we said, if a person wants a card, then he can go into the app and order the card, but he should not be part of the onboarding, because somehow we are pushing to the customer the card, and there is no sense of pushing the card. I mean, people should be requesting the card themselves.
And so would you say that as a company, you're not an account-based company first? It's almost like you do loans and then you can get a card.
We have an account, we have a card, we have a wallet where you can link your other cards. We have all that products, I mean, transfers, P2P transfers, deposits, all this stuff. But the point is that in terms of, how you sell, you shouldn't be overselling, right? I mean, the key target of that process is to onboard the customer. And once you are already in the environment of space, then you can choose all the products you need.
Okay, cool.
And this is the concept, basically.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. And also on that 500 point thing that we saw at the end of that. So it seems to be some sort of like reward system that you guys have. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah.
And then where would they be able to use those points?
So the points are collected, and every week we have two basically loyalty schemes, you can call it this way. One is the cashback, and the other one is points. And the points are given every week for a certain challenge, basically for onboarding, for referring to a friend, for doing transactions, for, I don't know, many other things, And once you collect the points, then basically these points are ranked on the leaderboard. And every week there is maximum of 150 laris, which is approximately 40 pounds, which you can get as a present from Space. And basically the first place would get this amount, and then the rest. So for instance, you can easily every week earn 10 pounds, 5 pounds, if you are transacting and if you are earning the points. And apart from this, we also have in the app a game, literally a game, like Tetris or something like that. And people play, and if you are engaged with the app and you play on the app, basically you get the points as well. So by this, we are motivating the usage of the app, basically. And
how is the game received? Like, is it well used?
Yeah, many people use it. Many people use it. And they get 3 points for that. And then at the end of the week, they may get like 5 laris for free, out of nothing. So
That's really cool, actually. I guess next up we've got the loans journey, which gets into like some of the really cool stuff with a plus and minus.
That's something interesting.
Yeah. So what we have here is the homepage. You got the amount in your account that will be there, and then you
push on plus.
Yep, and you press plus, and then at this moment you are trying to apply for a loan.
200 lari loan.
Yeah, you're trying to apply for a loan.
This is terms and conditions.
Yep, and we then jump into what's the loan?
Now the scoring engine is going.
Okay. And then
so this is the amount of the installment you want to pay.
So if at this
and this calculates you then basically the maturity, repayment schedule, all that stuff.
And if at that point they weren't eligible for 200 laris, what would that return?
An answer. Now we are checking in the revenue service of the country. Basically, we have a direct integration to them. Yeah, this is the code you received because we have to be allowed to check on you in the revenue service.
Okay. And where does that code get sent to? Your phone by the
phone,
revenue
because
service?
we have it, yeah.
Okay.
And this is the final terms, basically.
Okay.
And this is very cool because you are choosing any card which you want, not only Space card, because I said that we have the wallet function in Space, right? So you can link the cards from other banks as well to Space, and I can disburse the loan to a card which is not a Space card, but to another bank.
Okay.
And this is something that banks not do, because what they do generally is that they would disburse a loan into a card which is owned by them. In terms of competition things, thinking and stuff. So we don't do that because it's up to the customer where to take.
And is there no like legislation problems around that?
No,
That's something that okay. That's
and this was the real process. So basically, when I said instant, this is what we call instant. So you start and you end within the app, basically in a minute or two, and that's it. You don't need to do anything else at all.
So that number in the middle of the circle
Is
there
the balance.
is the balance of your Space balance.
Your balance in Space.
In Space.
Or the Space current account.
On the Space current account, and that can constitute of, if you want to pull money from other cards into Space.
Then you go to the menu, basically, the My Space section, and then you do the card-to-card transaction.
Okay.
And this is 24/7. Basically,
right.
you are not looking at if the bank works or if the bank back office works. And so you do card-to-card from a different bank to a different bank, or from a different bank to Space card.
Okay. And so if at that section at the end, I decided to put the loan in a different account, it wouldn't come up on my Space amount?
No, it would not.
Cool.
This represents, and what we thought about it is that, the first page should be the representation of your Space current account or the card account. I mean, it's the same in our case.
Yep.
So the big round circle in the middle, the planet, basically, is the balance. You push on it, you have transaction history.
Okay.
And then you have plus and minus. And actually, if you think in a daily banking perspective, all you need is a current account, a card, and to add money to your current account or to minus the current account, so to take money out of your current account.
Okay.
And this is what this plus and minus represent, basically. So if you push on minus, you can send money out, pay something, pay a utility bill or repay a loan.
Yeah.
And if you push on plus, you can get money. Now we have a loan function inside, but in a month or maximum month and a half, we're going to have request money function, where you will request money from a friend or from a family, and basically you would get the money on your account.
Okay, nice. And how was that like plus or minus? Because it's something really new, something we haven't seen. How was that plus or minus function tested with users? Is that something they find intuitive?
It is difficult function. Basically, it is absolutely not used, and in terms of interface, people don't think that way. But the initial thought in the very beginning, where we were starting the project, was that we didn't want to create a typical mobile banking interface on the first page, and we thought that there is a value in it. And of course, the inspiration comes from various kind of iPhones, the iPhones of this world, basically when you have the interface and it doesn't look like all the other interfaces you saw before. So we said, what is the common pattern of behavior in daily banking perspective? And we said, it's a current account, it's a card, it's a balance, basically, and then sending money out or receiving money. And all these 3 and 4 functions are the core functions we do every day. So why don't we combine this all into a plus and minus and the balance point? Plus we were called Space, so we did like 3 planets, And then that's the interface. People, once you do it first time, then you understand it and then you like it. So our customers' feedback is that they love it. But initially, when they see it, they are a bit confused. But this confusion also creates kind of interest.
And engagement.
And if you recall the first iPhones we saw, right? It was very confusing how to use a finger. But then we all know it.
Got our head around it.
Exactly.
So also something about that plus or minus function I wanted to understand. What I wanted to ask about was, do you find that maybe using minus to signify sending money has like negative connotations? And if that was done on purpose to kind of, I guess, discourage people from spending?
No, we didn't reason that way, to be honest. And we also do not have this insight yet from the customers. It has this negative connotation.
Okay, good.
Yeah, basically it is just a minus. And once, functional explains itself, and once you see that the minus is all the options which help you to basically take money from your account and send it somewhere or spend it, then basically you don't think about this negative connotation.
Yeah, perfect.
So we didn't see this psychological effect.
Okay, good to hear. And I wanted to ask about the loans as well. So we're seeing Space is a bank, which is part of TBC, are the loans coming on Space's balance sheet, or is TBC, or is it part of TBC?
That's a very important question. Firstly, to understand what is Space part of.
Yeah.
Basically, we created Space for the purpose of using Space in different markets.
Yep.
And in Georgia also, Space is connected to TBC as it would be connected to any other bank worldwide. You know.
Okay.
So, for instance, we know banking as a service providers, right? Wirecard, for instance,
Yeah.
or others. And basically, we are now working on German project, and basically we can take Space as it is, and exactly the same way as it is connected to TBC, connected to any other banking service provider. You know.
Okay.
So basically, the pilot in Georgia is just for the sake of understanding how the architecture should work. And now that it worked, we are ready to expand it furthermore. So that's why the loan book, as Space is a mobile banking app, basically, we don't want to have it on Space balance sheet because Space will be a mobile banking app. And then we will be selling loans from the third-party providers. TBC, in this case, serves as a third-party provider.
Okay, that's interesting. So when you talk about, and we're going to get into the German.
So the balance sheet is of TBC.
We're going to get into like the German expansion later, but like when you said that you'll be able to like connect with other banks, would that model work the same way that whichever bank you do connect with, their loan sheet will be with that bank as opposed to
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
I mean, this is how it works now. If we decide tomorrow that we want to have a balance sheet on Space, we would book it on our balance sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that brings other regulatory questions, you know, and we are not yet into that.
Yeah. Okay. I guess the final journey we have is the money transfer journey.
Yeah.
So at this page, once again, you log in, Face ID, pretty sleek. You then get in, and on this occasion, we're pressing the minus button.
Yeah.
You then greeted with a contact list.
Yes.
And then you can, at this point, we
You're
search for
searching the name.
Yeah, search for the name of the contact. You are then jumped into... You found a contact, and then you then send...
Money, how much you want.
Yeah. And you choose
You're
which
choosing
account.
any card. That's the most important thing. So most of the apps, you take your own card, Space card, for instance. Here, you're taking the wallet function, basically.
And then at that point, you could choose like...
And that's it.
Yeah, a message or a gift to attach
or a
to.
gift, or the GIF.
Yeah.
Emotional gift, you know, like smile or something.
And if that person doesn't have Space, where does that gift go to? Does that go to them as a text message?
Exactly, it goes into the text message.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So once you receive a notification that you have a money transfer, the GIF is inside. Yeah.
Nice. And just a bit more on that homepage. How do I navigate to other menu items?
You have a small button on the bottom, basically an arrow, and it opens My Space.
Okay.
And you have all the products inside.
Okay. All right, sweet.
So we split the app in two. Basically, the front page is for one feature, which is the current account and everything linked to it. And then My Space is for all the rest of features, you know, like the gamifications, leaderboards, you know, deposits, and so on and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just don't call it deposit, we call it the, you know, saving pot, basically. We don't want to call it deposit because it's not a deposit per se.
And with the mechanics of sending money to someone, I just want to try and understand it. Does that person have to be on Space?
No.
Okay, and then when I type in their number, what does it send to the bank account? Is their bank account?
Card.
Okay.
Because for instance, once you do the transaction, then we remember all this kind of information.
Okay.
But the initial one, basically, he receives an SMS with a code. He types in, and then you have an e-commerce page, basically, where you type in your card where you want to receive this money to.
And then that saves on Space it.
And then we know it already, and next time it will go through directly.
Okay. Okay. And just to confirm, I can transfer from any card
to any card.
To any card.
Yes.
And how does that work? Like
going through Visa and MasterCard.
Okay. So that's some sort of API integrate. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Wow.
Yeah.
Really.
And that's in seconds, you know. And the main problem sometimes, or frequently, is that if you want to transfer money instantly at I don't know 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't know, you're in a club and you want to transfer money to a friend.
Yeah.
Basically, you cannot do it frequently to another bank. Within your bank, you can do it because it's like internal transfer. But when it's another system, you know, you are blocked until the next day. You know, and here you go through Visa and you do it in 2 seconds, basically.
It's interesting because there's like one part of you which is like, you know, I guess your normal current account kind of service, but there's also another part of Space which is almost like an aggregator.
It's an aggregator also.
Okay. Is that what?
It is a wallet. It is a current account business, and basically it aggregates other services as well.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting.
Because, you know, the thinking is that we are a customer management business, so you don't have to really think about Space as a space, but you should think about Space as a platform, and then within this platform, and I think this kind of thinking we've seen currently in many businesses, basically, when you have a customer and you try to sell to the customer many different things.
Yeah.
Also third-party provider things, you know.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. I think that comes to the end of all the journeys we have. I guess before we leave here, I think dig a bit deeper into the expansion.
Yeah.
So where do you guys look to expand next?
The project we're developing now, basically, there are two projects. One is a German project, basically, because in Germany we have several counterparts who are offering the banking as a service platforms.
Yep.
And then through them, through passporting solution afterwards, we can easily go into other European markets. And this would allow us to test space already on the international scale.
Okay.
And second is we are expanding space into Uzbekistan. This is a country in Central Asia, which now is under massive reforms and is like heavily under the loop of different investors.
Yeah.
Why? Because it has 33 million population and it offers really big potential for banking and other services. And there we are expanding, TBC is expanding as a bank, and basically Space would be the only banking solution offered through TBC Bank there. So it will not have its own banking kind of front end. Space will be the front end of TBC in Uzbekistan. So we can call it more or less white labeling kind of stuff. And here in Germany, it would be Space expanding by itself.
Okay. And actually just interesting in Uzbekistan, how easy has it been to kind of get into that region? Are they kind of...
It is not easy in terms of fintech play, but it has been quite, I wouldn't say easy, but the country was quite cooperative when TBC Group decided to go there. You know, I mean, we already got the banking license, pre-license, and now we're launching the bank within the next 6 months.
Nice.
And the banking license will be built on it, we will build on it Space, which will be our front end.
Yeah.
So it will be a fully digital bank, basically, there. Which will have some branches, but the branches will not have its operator sitting behind the desk. Basically, it will be like, you know, assisted banking service where you're going to go with your phone and the assistant will come and explain on your phone how to deal with the application.
Okay.
So it's kind of a showrooming concept. And this is Uzbekistan, and Germany is a typical expansion of a fintech app where the app will go on that market, couple with a banking service provider, and then offer the solution to the customers.
And in sort of Germany, we see like N26 out there. Where do you think you kind of like fit in particular? What kind of...
The go-to market is migrants, basically, because we have lots of migrants from our region. And basically, Space is a Georgian app. We will have the local language support. And imagine you are a Georgian guy living in Germany, you would have an app in your own language, and you're going to call up the German bank and they will speak to you in Georgian.
Okay.
And this is a super comfortable thing, you know, and then we would integrate P2P transfers, you know, trying to cut out the expensive money transfer schemes now existent, you know, so basically this would help somehow migrants to get the value proposition they are seeking now, you know.
Okay.
And not only Georgian, then Uzbeks and all the countries we are represented in, you know.
Okay. That's an interesting play. And how big is the sort of Georgian community in Germany?
It's quite big. I mean, the country is itself very small, right? So in terms of proportion of the country, it is quite big. But again, you know, it is not only Georgian community. Once we're going to test it on Georgians, then it's going to expand furthermore. And once it has a critical mass to operate, basically, of course, the key target is not only the migrants, but also the local population. And again, you know, if we see those names which you mentioned, they are expanding massively throughout different geographies. Why? Because everywhere you grab a portion, you know, and at the end you collect the whole figure, and it's a couple of million. In reality, if you split it over geographies, it's a bit there, you know, and this is how it works. Why? Because the model itself is scalable, right? And you can operate from one geographic point, I don't know, 20 geographies. And this is what we are trying to build as well.
And also, just, I guess, finally on Space itself, how do you plan on growing out the feature set, and where do you guys see yourself?
There is a product pipeline basically, and the backlog which is constantly developing and evolving. But the point is that we are not that focused on that now. Why? Because we achieved the point where we have all the critical features which we need for daily banking, you know. And we don't have to be super kind of, you know, cautious about diversifying these products, because once you overdo, then you become a typical retail banking app, you know, and we don't want to be that. No,
makes sense. I think that's it for today.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stop by next week for more insights and journeys. If you want to see more of 11FS Pulse, head over to pulse.11fs.com, where you can also request a demo. If you've got any questions about the product or want to suggest a journey for us to include on our platform or this show, hit us up on pulse@11fs.com or find us on Twitter at 11FS Pulse. Nika, if people want to find out more about you and what you do, TBC and Space, where can they go?
They know you. They can come through you to us,
Yeah.
and also they can just write us directly on the space.ge website,
Okay,
which is our website, or tbcbank.com.ge. These are the two websites they need, and all the contact infos are there.
Perfect.
Or they can find me on LinkedIn. So
yeah. All right, guys, you have permission. Great, and we'll see you next week, guys. Take care.
Thank you.